Hi, everybody. During my senior year in high school, I was in a program in the YMCA called Soy Emprendedor. I am an entrepreneur. In the program, everybody had to write down their ideas on a sticky note on what they thought would be a good way to help the community in some way. And so, what I wrote down on my sticky note was how could a person better prepare their house or any building per se from future earthquakes. And so I had to do my research on that, and I actually found a couple methods to help with it. One method is to create a flexible foundation. And so a flexible by flexible foundation, what I mean is the building or the house is actually constructed on top of a flexible pad that isolate the foundation from the ground. And so these flexible pads are made out of steel, rubber, and lead. So for when an earthquake occurs, the only thing that's going to be moving will be the flexible pads that are actually installed underneath the base of the foundation, the base of the structure itself, while the structure remains still during the whole earthquake. And this is because the flexible pads, what they do is they absorb the seismic waves and prevent them from traveling through the building. And by doing so, reducing damage. Another method is to shield buildings from vibrations. And so for this method, concrete and plastic rings are placed under the structure, at least 3 feet underneath the foundation. According to Big Rents, researchers are experimenting with different ways for buildings to deflect and reroute the energy from earthquakes. So once the wave from the earthquake enters the rings, they are forced to move through the outer rings, and the vibrations are essentially directed away from the building, and they dissipate into the plates underground. And there are so many different materials that are now available out there that are actually made specifically to just withstand the aftershocks of earthquakes and reduce the damage caused to the structure, such as moment resisting frames. So what they do is they actually keep joints rigid while allowing the structure to bend. And there's actually structured steel that comes in so many different shapes now that they actually bend without breaking at all. Another material is memory alloy and bamboo, which are actually which actually have a greater potential for a way better flexibility and have shape retention. I read on an article from New York Times that according to Thomas Fuller, there's this man called Yasuhisa Itakura. So this man was sitting at his desk finishing his reports in his office when out of nowhere his office actually started slightly shaking a little bit, just barely. And so Mr. Itakura actually said, I thought to myself that this earthquake is not a big deal, it's not that big. But that earthquake was actually catastrophic. And this earthquake was the Great Hanshin earthquake of January 17, 1995, that actually killed more than 6,000 people. And Mr. Yasuhisa Itakura's building was on a experimental foundation that was made from rubber. And that is actually one of the earliest versions of base isolation. And so that early version of base isolation is actually what protected Mr. Yasuhisa Itakura's building and his life and everybody in it. And that very same technique has been modified over the years and is now currently used all around Japan today. So many other buildings have been fitted with shock absorbing devices that can reduce the damage and actually prevent collapse to structure. To protect the buildings and the people that are inside while an earthquake occurs. And actually now there's so many different countries that are vulnerable to earthquakes, like Chile, Mexico, and Brazil, that have actually adopted these ideas and adjusted it to their own ways in these very different methods to better prepare their structures for future earthquakes and greatly reduce the damage that the aftershocks will bring. And so I found this topic to be very interesting, and I hope you all do as well. Thank you for your time.